With this, yeah, they had exceptions and yeah. I think that they created. Yeah. That's good.
I think there might be more.
Yep. Good morning. Morning. And use and information committee meeting for August 1st. Come to order. Notice has been posted in accordance with Wisconsin statute 19.84 open meeting law. This time we'll take general public comments, 2-minute time limit. Any general comments? Yes.
I'm Marilyn Zinderman. My comments are on the Evergreen Haven application. I do full-time on Evergreen Path.
You can make those comments during the public hearing if you want, when that item gets on the
I'm sorry, I
agenda.
thought that was what this was.
So
It's just
this is just general ones.
That's
Okay,
stuff on
gotcha.
the agenda. You can come at that time.
Okay.
There are no general comments. The approval of the agenda order. Approved. Motion by Mr. Anderson.
Second that.
Second by Ms. Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the minutes from July 11th, 2023.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion made Mr. Blum.
Second that motion.
Second by Mr. Payton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Public hearing. Jason, please read the public hearing.
Notice of public hearing, state of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Tuesday, August 1st, 2023 at 9 a.m. at the Burnett County Government Center, room 165, town of Mean, Cyber, Wisconsin, regarding the following. Burnett County Land Use Shoreline Protection Ordinances. Number one, that one has been postponed until next month. Number two, conditional use permit CUP 2309 Olson. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Olson, Burnett County, town of Oakland, Burnett County, Wisconsin. That Maggie Olson's made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use Code of Ordinances to allow chickens and ducks in a residential district located at 28257 French Road in the RR3 zoning district, lot 1, CSM, volume 3, page 118 in the southeast quarter, the northwest quarter, section 20, town 40 north, range 16 west. Number three, conditional use permit CUP 2310 Evergreen Haven LLC. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Rust, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Mindy Eichhoff on behalf of Evergreen Haven LLC has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use Code of Ordinances to operate a wellness and craft retreat center at 1631 Evergreen Path, AKA 26325 Dock Lake Road in the RR3 zoning district, lot 1, CSM, volume 19, page 39 in the northeast quarter, northwest quarter, section 14, town 39 north, range 14 west. Number four, a conditional use permit CUP 2311 Fit. Public notice here were given to all persons in the town of Mean, Burnett County, Wisconsin, and Douglas Fick has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow chickens in a commercial district located at 25325 State Road 35 in the C1 zoning district, Lot 1, CSM, Volume 28, page 125, in the northeast quarter, the southeast quarter, Section 29, Town 39 North, Range 16 West. Number 5, map amendment MAP 2305, Burnett County. To rezone 2 acres in the southwest corner of the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter, Section 29, Town 39 North, Range 16 West, located in the town of Meenan, from F1 Forestry to I1 Industrial Zoning District. Zoning change requested by the Recycling Control Commission on behalf of Burnett County. Note conditional use permit CUP 2312 goes along with this request. Details of the proposed revision are available at Burnett County Land Services Department, Burnett County Clerk's Office, and on the Burnett County website. Number 6, conditional use permit 2312. Burnett County, public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Meenan, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that the Recycling Control Commission on behalf of Burnett County has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use Code of Ordinances to operate a residential recycling drop-off facility on the parcel located east of 7610 Midtown Road in the I1 zoning district. 2 acres in the southwest corner of the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter, Section 29, Town 39 North, Range 16 West. Note rezone request map 2305 goes along with this request. Number 7, map amendment MAP 2306, Hopkins Sand and Gravel. To rezone that part of government lot 3 lying east of State Road 35, Section 32, Town 38 North, Range 16 West, located in the town of Siren, from A2 agricultural residential to I1 industrial zoning district. Zoning change requested by Rick Hopkins on behalf of Hopkins Sand and Gravel. Details of the proposed revision are available at Burnett County Land Service Department, Burnett County Clerk's Office, and on the Burnett County website. And number 8, that one has been rescinded by the applicant.
Thank you. This time we'll start the public hearings. Conditional use permit CUP 2309, Olson Chickens and Ducks in the residential district. Is the applicant here?
Me, hi, good morning. Can I go up there?
Yep.
Good morning.
Just basically give a little rundown of what your request is for the committee.
Sure. Do you want the background info too? Essentially, my husband and I and our children, we used to live in Voyager Village, and then we sold our property in Voyager Village and moved into Sand Lake Township. And we had chickens and ducks. And then we were living in Sand Lake Township. We were living with my in-laws, my husband's parents. And then we purchased our property in Oakland. And then we moved our family and our chickens and ducks into Oakland Township. We recently had another child and applied to put an addition on our home in Oakland Township. And during that process, we found out that we needed a permit for our chickens and ducks, which we weren't aware of because coming out of Sand Lake Township, we don't need anything. So then we applied for the CUP with Oakland Township. And I went to that meeting last month and had my CUP approved there. And now I'm just here at Burnett County trying to get it approved with you guys.
Thank you. Maybe have any questions of the applicant?
This one, I think it probably said it on here, but how many total?
Right now I have 46 birds. I have 11 ducks and 35 chickens.
They laying chickens?
Say that again.
Are chickens for eggs?
So I have full-size chickens for eggs, and then I have silky chickens, which are little bantam chickens. If you're not familiar, they're like the poodle chicken. They're very fluffy. And those are for showing in 4-H. My boys start 4-H this year. They'll be showing at the Burnett County Fair in Grantsburg in the Little Britches. So they have silkies for showing. They also lay eggs, but they're very small.
No, it's just purely when you're in our district, it's that we allow this routinely for various things as long as it's remains small. Doesn't create any need for manure management.
Correct.
That kind of thing. And you need an awful lot of those little chickens to meet that criteria.
Yes, exactly. The little ones are, half the size of a regular one. So
And that's all we always want to know the total number. We probably put a cap on it, but that's all I have for now.
I recall the bantams are kind of cute and scrappy.
they're very cute. And the silkies, they can't really see very well because they're very fluffy, which is perfect for kids because then they don't run from them. They can pick them up really easily.
I see that the The suggestion would be to limit the number of chickens to 50. Would that work for you?
Correct. I'm under 50 right now.
You don't plan to expand, that's,
No. I mean, I would love to, but my husband would not like that. So
they'll be on our side then.
yeah, he said, good luck today, but if they say no, they say no.
We routinely, real common thing and something we might look at trying to figure out a way to permit a small number to not have to go this extent, but it's trying to be fair, you know. If somebody might want a pony or, you know, who knows?
I would like a pony also, but
Well, you'd have to come back for another permit for the pony.
this has been a long process. I might just stay with the chickens and the ducks.
Yeah, there you go.
Any other questions for the committee? If not, I'll open the public hearing and see if there are any questions, comments from people in the back. Please go.
Oh, hi, Don.
Good morning, Don Hamilton, Town of Oakland. I also serve on the Oakland Land Use Planning Committee, and we met Mrs. Olson a couple weeks ago, and we strongly recommend the committee give this request favorable consideration. In your packet are the conditions that the Town of Oakland did come up with, so we would encourage the committee to support those recommendations. We did work that out with Mrs. Olson, and she is in 100% agreement. The one bar that we were a little hesitant to set was about one rooster being on the farm. We don't want roosters in these cups, but we feel a special consideration should be given to the Olson family because her young family is interested in 4-H and learning animal husbandry. And we do believe learning and preserving that history of farming and understanding where food comes from is very important for our younger generation. So she is in agreement that when the boys are out of 4-H, that the rooster would go. It would be time for it to go. So we did that because we didn't want to set a precedent where every person that comes in with chickens and ducks would like a rooster. So this is a special consideration, but if there are noise complaints, she is more than willing to live with. If the county does get a complaint about noise, that, you know, she would authorize land services if they issued a notice of violation that it would be time for the rooster to go. So she is willing to live with 50 birds and we're comfortable with that because she does have a variety of species there and they're not that big. So with that, I'd like to offer again my personal support for this cup, and I would encourage the committee to approve this CUP. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think
Any other comments?
we haven't strictly prohibited roosters all the time either if it's a large enough parcel, you know, the distance issue. You're in RR3, 5 acres.
Nope, it's just under 3 acres. It's a rural mixed use hamlet.
That's the comprehensive plan, but that part's.
You're about 2.2 acres is what we show in the.
It's just,
staff
I
report.
think we'd say that the current rooster is there for his lifespan, but otherwise. No more. But that's a whole bunch of roosters can become noisy.
Correct, yeah.
Well, you might need a replacement rooster though, just in case. Right.
Well, if you're raising chickens, you know, that's one thing, or if you just happen to have a rooster is another.
I'll just borrow a rooster if I have to.
If it's too loud, it might not last that long anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Any other comments? If not, I'll close the public hearing. We did get a notice from Oakland.
Yep, you got a letter or an email from the Town of Oakland with their 8 conditions they would like to have made part of the approval.
My iPad. I don't know.
Yeah. Want me to read them?
Yeah, please.
All right, so these are the ones that the Town of Oakland requested. Number 1, a maximum of 50 birds at any time. This includes chicks, ducks, and ducklings. Number 2, 1 silk rooster allowed to support family involvement in 4-H. Note, applicant agrees this condition is subject to review and removal by letter, notice of violation from Burnett County Land Services, and if any noise complaints are received. Number 3, no roosters allowed after family children are done with 4-H. 4, no free range. All birds will be 100% contained in pen or run 24/7, 365. Number 5, no informal or formal retail sale of eggs allowed. Number 6, maintain current tree vegetative barrier on the property. Number 7, CUP automatically expires on sale or transfer of the parcel. Number 8, applicant understands and agrees any violations of CUP conditions will result in a review and a revocation of this conditional use permit.
Are pretty much with what we would do.
Yeah, and then-
anyway. So I think I'll just make a motion to add town of Oakland's conditions to ours. Formally adopt them.
Yeah, I'd like to second the motion and those conditions as well.
Okay. There are no other.
You also have a letter in your packet from a neighbor. Yep. Saying they don't have any issues with the request.
It's not that. It's simpler just that. Let's adopt Oakland's recommendations with our own, rather than have to add them in the individually.
Conditions from Oakland, wish to make a motion.
I did. And
Use them, I said that.
well, okay, yeah,
You
well,
want their condition. And you wish to make a motion on the applicants.
I mean, I'm just saying to tack the Oakland conditions onto our own, because we always have all other state, local, and what kind of regulations, but then I'll make a motion to approve it with those, with Oakland's conditions and our own conditions.
Second. And we have a roll call vote. Mr. Schminsky. Yes. Mr. Blumberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Bickford. Yes. CUP 2309 has been approved.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go on to conditional use permit. CUP 2310 Evergreen Haven LLC. Wellness and Craft Retreat Center. I think we can go over and explain application.
Hello, you guys all got me all so nervous here. So my name is Mindy Eichhoff. I am representing the Evergreen Haven LLC today. We are just a couple friends that purchased the property at 1631 back in May. And yeah, our ultimate goal would like to provide the property to have do weekend retreats and being craft retreats or wellness retreats and such. Stuff like that. So the retreats would be organized, they're pre-registered. Myself and our partner, she will be there the entire time during the retreat. So yeah, to guide them and to do a multitude of different things. So yeah. I don't know what you guys ask me questions. I'm better with answering questions.
Remember, wish to comments or ask questions.
Would any of these retreats be overnight?
Yes. Not all, but some will be overnight. Yep. So the property exists, it's basically two buildings, which we are converging into one. And so it's basically two standalone buildings. So you will stay in one. The retreats will actually be in an area that will be kind of closed off. So they'll be able to stay privately on their own in an area and then go down into the other area to be able to do the retreat, the crafting or wellness or whatnot. So.
Question?
I'm just wondering about if you're having, how many people would you anticipate being there?
So we're working through that right now with the county as well. So we're waiting for this conversation to be had because we actually have a permit to do, or we're getting the permit for another septic. So we have a 1250 and a 350. So we're going to put another 1250 on. So we know how, so then that tells us we can have, 18. So So we already are in the works of that, but we don't want to dive into something when,
Well, no, I
Still.
understand, but we would have to make that a condition that you.
Yep.
Install appropriate capacity.
correct.
On-site wastewater treatment systems. to
Yep.
Handle the peak waste,
Yes,
not, the code is designed for peak, it doesn't care about average.
yes, right, right. So we would have anywhere between, 10, and then there'd be two practitioner, two of us. Two of us, oh, excuse me, two of us on site as well. So it'll be anywhere between 10 to, well, it'd be a max of 18. Is kind of what we're thinking, so.
Right, and the way you do that, it depends a little bit on the use.
Mhm.
They, like a day camp, for example,
Correct.
use is not the same as when people are staying overnight.
Right.
It's housing,
Right.
so you'd have to come up with a design, and then the parameters of that design would be your capacity that you would have to stay within.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Just making sure you do that.
Absolutely, yep, I'm all over it. We had Derek Olson out there yesterday and he's been out there a couple different times, so, and he's the one that installed the other, and, so he was guiding us and everything too, so,
The code is very prescriptive, like a cookbook, and it
Yeah.
tells you how many people, what they're doing, what the wastewater
Right.
fluid flows are,
right,
what you have to design to.
exactly.
I'm assuming you're aware you could have conventional in grounds,
Conventional what?
in regular septic tank. but
Yes,
in
yeah, there's
conventional,
room for it.
Not gonna
Mhm,
need to
Yep,
be a mound or something more. expensive.
yep, no, doesn't need to be a mound. He's got that all set, so. And I can address so there are also like 5 violations on the property, which you guys should all have probably gotten. And so we are remedying all of those. We sort of inherited all those with the previous owner. So he did not pull permits for anything. We are running into a multitude of things like that, so we are remedying all of that stuff, so.
Necessary for the public access.
Yeah.
Jason, does that fall under the short-term rental where they have to have a license?
Yes,
Overnight?
Correct, yep.
yep, and we have that application already in. We're just, we're waiting for what we have to finish renovating before they come in to do the inspection stuff, and then the state will come in as well, so. We have 2 other rental properties, so I've got the rules down, so pretty good. So,
Any other questions? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Let me come up, ma'am.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm fast.
State your name.
Nice to meet you. Marilyn Linderman. I typed up just a few copies of our concerns. My husband and I have owned 2 5-acre lots on Evergreen Path for like 20 years. Moved there full-time 6 years ago. There are other people living on Evergreen Path. Evergreen Path is a private road. And that is our biggest concern with this. Evergreen Haven is actually going to be 2 different entities from our perspective. They are going to be using it as vacation rentals during the summer months and maybe sometimes in between, with certainly, as many was saying, potentials for up to like 18 people. Which is with people maybe bringing boats in and that type of thing, a lot of wear and tear on that road. It's your very basic, gravel private road. And I'm thinking that the county doesn't want to put in a regular county road and pave it and be responsible for the upkeep. So we are very concerned about that. Somebody said the previous owner did some interesting things, including building 2 separate buildings on the 7-acre lot, which is not allowed. So those buildings are now joined by a deck that does have a roof over it, but there is no common wall, that type of thing. So it's the potential there for a lot of people coming and going. We've spoken with pretty much everyone that is in our little enclave, and we are all very concerned again about the comings and goings. and about the potential of people walking around in our private areas. Other thing is the health and wellness thing, to me, sounds like a great business. However, I don't understand what kinds of businesses are allowed in an area like this. No one is living on site, and I'm assuming that nobody is going to be living on site. So it's not a home business. If it's a small, commercial business, what else are we opening ourselves up to potentially in terms of businesses down the road? Once they get the conditional use permit, is that stay forever? Or if they sell the property, does it go back to residential? I mean, those are our concerns about how this might work. Because of the two separate addresses, the previous owner did cut a driveway into the property off of Dock Lake Road. That's 26325 Dock Lake Road. I mean, our request, and I've spoken with everybody that other than Lynn, who is the person who very rarely is out at the area, would prefer that anybody coming into Evergreen Haven would use that driveway rather than Evergreen Path.
3 minutes.
Oh, there we go. Okay, that's our thing. All right, thank
For
you.
your concerns. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Did we receive notification?
We have no correspondence on this one.
I will close the public hearing at this time. Do you have any questions or concerns?
Generally happens on a private road. I mean, it'd be up to the residents to try to work with them to pay for maintenance
Yep.
or, okay.
Dock Lake Road is a public road.
Correct.
And then Evergreen Path, and just looking at this is a private road, and does that connect back to Dock Lake Road?
No, it's a dead end.
Comes
I
from-
mean,
comes from-
It's a one-way into the
Yep.
area and tees.
Yeah. There's no other way to get out of it though.
where does Evergreen Path, because
Where's
of
the entryway?
is that attached to Dock Lake Road at some point?
Yes,
Just north of,
On the curve,
just around the curve.
okay, it's kind of hard to see with the, I blew up
oh,
it doesn't reduce the lines like the website does, but.
so this parcel, Evergreen Path, is basically the north boundary of this parcel.
Yeah.
That's where it connects out to Dock Lake Road.
I can see the point of wanting to have a public facility access off a public road. Makes sense to me.
So is there a couple things? I mean, short-term rental, I believe is what the application is for. But is
No.
that necessarily approving other business?
Short-term rental, they would not have to be here if it was
Right.
just.
That's a whole
short-term
separate
rental.
application.
Okay.
This is for operating basically the retreat center, crafting center.
This would fall within this doesn't change the zoning. I want to explain to the
Yeah.
folks in the back that it's a permit for some things like for commonly done in the past in the residential recreational districts, like resorts, lodges, you know, beds and breakfast, recreational facilities. It falls into that category. And so, and then to answer your question on that, it used to be that conditional use permits ran with the property. But now there is an option to have them sunset at time of sale. And on something like this, that might be an appropriate condition to put on, just throw that out there for discussion. But conditional use permits are something that you tailor to the individual activity and because this may or may not be something that somebody else would want to continue. You know, if we could make it that a new owner would have to reappear or reapply, any number of things like that. You could just sunset it at time of sale, you know, and then if you were selling it to someone who wanted to continue it, then we just need to bring them in to reapply, that kind of thing. But that's that's the whole idea, was to provide that flexibility. As Jason said, this could be a 10-person occupancy recreational rental without anything to this committee whatsoever. To that extent, we can look at your concerns where
It's mostly the wear and tear on the road that we're really.
I guess the question I mean, when I'm reading what the conditional use is for, it's state, so what are we looking to approve? Because it says,
Just the wellness portion.
because it says for to use as a short-term rental and to hold wellness and craft retreats. So it's not,
Short-term rental is a whole separate application that we put in, so today is just for the wellness and.
so
craft.
strike that out of this application. That isn't part of this
That's
application.
not part of the application. They would not, if they just wanted to do the short-term rental, they would not have to be here. That would just be an administratively approved through the office permit.
That was more or less for information.
Yeah, I think to explain the background of the property.
Could you use the driveway from Duck Lake Road and not use?
So it's an interesting point, absolutely. We don't use it. We actually have it barricaded off so nobody else can come in there. I've never driven it. There's trees down in it. I feel like, well, there's a couple. There's two things that the old owner had put in, two kind of access points from Dock Lake. And neither of which that we use. We have them both kind of blocked off. One, he kind of made to put a storage container back there, which is one of the violations. He just threw a semi trailer in the back 40 there. And I think that's how he got that in there, but
No,
it's,
that was an interesting.
yeah, I can imagine. So it's nothing that I wouldn't mind entertaining, but I don't, we've never driven it.
With improvements, it could be used.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, it's not like there's any, I don't think there's any culvert or
I
anything.
understand the point. I mean, it was a significant enough driveway to use to address it. 26-325 is a north directional address.
That's a document.
So that means it's addressed from Dock Lake Road. So
Right.
at some point, somebody here, none of us, Jason, I went out there and said that road is fine and that, but I think that mitigates.
Well, it's not really a road.
Well,
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it was 20 years ago.
Theoretical road.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was a wetland or couldn't be done because they used to have to mark where the sign went.
Correct.
At the road.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
So my point is that mitigates a majority of the issues. And it probably is appropriate just for your own management of your customers to have a road marked for that purpose. And you have, of course, the other road remains in service and it could be driven on too, but the main official access point is here would be a better deal,
Mhm.
would require fixing it up, obviously.
Yeah.
But it, to my mind, because of the intensity of your total use,
Mhm.
with a number of people in addition to the people that may be staying there, it would seem to be the best solution in the neighborhood is to use that road for that purpose. And you have two ways in and out of there really,
Right.
but the
Absolutely.
control, and it's always good, from fire and other things, right? But you would be controlling the access point and neighbors wouldn't need to be concerned. The rest of it is all just being a good neighbor. It's not a.
Right. And I'd have to look, and maybe you actually know. Is that the road that he got the,
No, when
or is it the one that swings all the way
So-
around the fence line?
the big storage thing.
Yeah,
Was pulled in before the property was even finished. He had just started working on the house, pulled it in off of Evergreen Path across, it sat in their backyard for years. It's only when he decided to sell the property that he took him almost a year to find somebody that could actually pull it to
Yeah.
where it is now. And I'm not even sure if it's on your property anymore versus the municipal property. I mean, it's really,
It's a 10 by 40 foot.
yeah. We have two people interested in purchasing it. They're just trying to figure out how they're going to get it out of there.
yeah.
So it's.
And I don't know if you'll be able.
It's a very complicated kind of deal, but
Yeah.
there is, like I said, the two accesses, one goes right along a fence line. It's kind of like this. The other one, which might be where the fire number is, that 23, whatever. Thank you. It's back farther, but you can't actually drive from that spot to the house. You have to come through the
I think, no,
woods.
You go through the woods, but it is a driveway. I know that
It's-
Marlon has driven it.
Yeah, I mean, we can take a four-wheeler through there, but you shouldn't take vehicles. There's tree stumps that come up at height through there.
They addressed it and they never finished it.
Yeah, and I sounds like one of the old paperworks I have, he had actually permitted and then either withdrew to put a building there, or at least he told us, he was, oh, I was gonna put a building back here and my business was gonna be here, and then I just threw an office up in the garage, which was the entire second property that he built that semi-attached to the house, which we all thought was all legal and legit until we got there, and then we're like, oh, okay, this is, yeah. So in answer to your question, we would love to be able to use that if we could. I just don't, I mean, it might be, I'll have to look into it and whatever your recommendations are as well.
It would involve getting somebody out there with a machine and cleaning it up and bringing in some gravel and
Oh,
whatnot.
right.
But I do think it solves the biggest issue you have.
It will make
with the private
everybody
road.
happy.
Mhm.
Because
in the neighborhood.
in all likelihood, if we were gonna say, well, you can use the private road that everybody shares, but you're gonna use it at a rate, 5 times of everybody else. So you're gonna have to help pay for the road. Well, this way you put the money on your own road and then you don't have to do that.
Absolutely.
And it might
Yeah.
be in the long run a better way to do it.
Totally understand that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then it can be built so that it would accommodate fire engines.
Yeah, well, it isn't current, it wouldn't be currently, but there is a fire number
Oh, sure.
there.
But
I mean,
we have minimum standards. for
Yeah,
widths and
we'll have to
turnarounds.
figure that out, yeah.
And with your activity there, you hopefully never, ever need it. But if you need an emergency response, you need a good road that they can get to. quick.
Right,
They're coming down a long winding road that you don't really have control over much.
But they could access that one.
They
though.
could too.
Yeah,
They could.
yeah,
They
they can
would.
get in there
They
really
would.
easily.
Whatever way they needed to come in.
Yeah.
But when we do construction, we do stuff, we're always pushing for roads that meet the needs of emergency services. And when you're gonna add another cohort of people to a place, you have an increased potential to need emergency services too, right?
So let me,
Short, fast road is better than not.
absolutely. So let me ask you this question, because we've already put an application in to converge the addresses to one. Because that was one of we had to do that for the county because he had it on 2 separate.
Sure.
So we've already done that. So now do I need to rechange and to like the other 23, the other Dock Lake
Which
Road
one
address?
are we using?
Or can I just keep that address and then make that be this is the entrance?
I don't know. why
Do you know what I mean? Like, do I have to go through all of our business, the LLC, everything is listed under 1631 Evergreen Path? So, and then can I just,
Your
do you see what I'm
Your
saying?
business address isn't the problem to my mind. That's your mail, that's your residence, whatever.
Okay.
But for the commercial activity, you could address it from the.
Yeah, like you said, just have the proper signage to try to direct people to go
Okay,
down.
okay, got it,
I
okay.
mean, your mail,
Yeah.
the mail wouldn't be delivered to that address.
No, I'm just, yeah, that's why I was trying to
But the road, the access for the commercial side
yeah,
would be that.
Yeah, the only thing you got to change is your advertising.
yes,
Put
Yeah.
that the address still on instead of the.
yes,
Well, it does make it challenging for Google searches though, because if someone searches the name of a
Yeah.
business, the physical address will show up and that's what people are gonna use.
yeah, that is, you're very correct.
I mean, it's complicated, but I think it's a big enough level of activity to warrant doing it for a whole bunch of reasons.
And there's no reason you can't have 2 addresses on one parcel, so you could. Keep your LLCs and all that with this, using that 16, but your business that you advertise,
Right.
you could advertise as the Dock Lake Road
Yeah.
address, so then people on Google would
Right.
be seeing that
Yep.
as the entrance point.
And I could do signage too, to get them
Yeah.
to go 20 yards down the road or,
Yeah.
It should
100.
be easier for your clients to
Yeah.
find it up at Dock Lake Road.
To get in.
Nobody, private roads are horrible on
Mhm.
UPS and
Yeah.
Google Maps and all those things.
There's a number of good reasons to do it, but just dip into your pocketbook a little more, of course.
Only money, right?
Yeah, the Dock Lake Road address could be used for 911.
Right.
Yeah, I can, yeah, Yeah.
No,
Yep.
expedite
right?
the access.
That is fire district.
Yeah, I think that is, yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the committee?
Yeah, the Lindermans, recommended there be a noise curfew of 10 PM. Would that be?
We already infect that. Yep. I think we have it at 11, no, maybe it's 10 at the other properties as well, and it's never been an issue, so.
So
And
maybe
we also don't do fireworks we're very, our other neighbors are horse trainers, like we're pretty strict.
So that 10 PM curfew make it.
Yep,
that
10
could
PM
be
is absolutely
included
fine.
as part of the
Mhm.
condition.
And someone is on site there.
So nobody is on site. We have a local housekeeper, we have local maintenance, we have friends that are all right there. We currently live in Minnesota, just 20 minutes south of Rochester. We spend probably more time up here because we do have 3 properties, so we are constantly here. And within the next, I'm hoping 3 years, we actually will be moving to Danbury, so because that's where our other property is, we'll probably end up moving there.
But
And then,
there would be someone who could be contacted if there were any.
oh, absolutely, absolutely,
That could
yep,
respond.
absolutely,
There's always somebody there when you're having an event.
absolutely, yeah. When there's a retreat going, there'll be at least 2 owners that will be there and present, probably our husbands as well, so the 4 of us will be there the whole time. Because we're operating it, we're running it, it's very organized. People will pre-sign up to attend this event, so they come and they wait for us to guide them, so. Yep, so we will be there to guide them.
Would you be running this up like for a family that was having a family reunion?
Yes, yeah, that's,
Would you still have someone there on
No.
site?
no, because that would be like the Airbnb, the short-term rental portion, so that would fall under short-term rental. So then they would just like if you were renting it for a family reunion, yeah. But still with the limit of the maximum amount of people.
So how big of an event, like how many people could potentially be there for like an event?
Well, if it's an overnight, it has to stay
But
I don't know. I mean,
I'm just curious.
it is
like,
very curious. Like if we do like day craft events, I mean, we can just like be open and, like we're kind of excited for an open house sometime just to see what we get. I mean, we are still in the middle of nowhere. We're not like right downtown anywhere. So,
Someone had mentioned a family reunion, so I didn't know it's like 50, 100 people.
oh, no,
Okay.
family, well, I guess not family reunion. I guess I always think of we have people like just family, we always call it family reunion, but the families that come and they just stay the weekend. But no, it's still a limited of whatever we cap like the septic.
So the overnight stuff is capped by the septic size.
Yeah.
I think Karen's getting at, what about like if you had a craft event for the day?
Right, a craft event for the day. I mean,
30 people?
I was thinking 20 is kind of what we were thinking.
And again, if you look at going to the code and dig around, and I'm not gonna claim to quote it from memory, but the gallons per day drops down to just some toilet use, and, so you have the 10-person capacity for residential use. And then add on another equivalent of a couple more bedrooms worth, and you probably have enough systems. That, because you gotta anticipate that you do both.
Right.
It could both be going on in a period of time.
Correct. Yeah.
So you're always having to plan for peak flow, right?
Yep.
And, but as long as it's not like you're having to build a mound for that. That would be really much more expensive, but that extra capacity and sizing of tanks saves a lot of life for the system.
So what you might want to do is set a cap of people. Cause let's say hypothetically, you're really good at running your business and all of a sudden it's like Voyager Village Craft Fair. And you have, 1,000 people there.
Yeah.
Neighbors probably wouldn't be too fond of that.
They'd be using both entries ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's, I was thinking we don't know the number yet,
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
I think the number that you give us, we agree upon today will be what you use to design.
Yeah.
And you might round up a
Yeah.
little bit
Yep.
You know, if you're not gonna get the precise size, but you're
Correct.
gonna pick up to the next size bigger. You're probably gonna oversize a little, but the numbers we set today will be what you operate under.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely. Agree.
Any other
So-
question?
I guess before we continue, I'd ask, you're looking at like 10 maximum sleepovers.
And bedrooms,
It's 10 bedrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
not 10 people.
Yep.
And then, for the craft gallery, probably 20 people or 25 people for a number that
Yeah.
would be in attendance at
Yeah.
the same time.
I think that would be,
Be 55 people.
Well, it depends on the bedroom, but potentially 55 people. Yeah.
45, 20 and 25.
but only, yeah, only
Yeah.
18 or 20 will be able to stay. So,
Well,
and if we end up having a huge event, we'll just, pull in a porta potty and do, but
that's,
I don't anticipate it,
well, I think.
give me 5 or 10 years, maybe.
Well, and that's what you could do too. I mean, you're
No.
getting this growing. You could come back in 5 years and say, hey, it's doing better than we thought, you could always come back and try to amend the number.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
speculate, it wouldn't be very often that you'd have all of the bedrooms full and do a full capacity craft,
right,
event, but that's your peak.
Yes.
And that's what we're looking at designing the septic toward, right?
Yep.
So
Mhm.
I can't pull a number up, but it's probably 10 bedrooms would be 1,500 gallons a day.
Mhm.
And if we're gonna talk about a day event, it's probably gonna work out to be about, at most 20 gallons a person, probably not that much more, like 15.
And it's 2 separate tanks. So, and that's 2 separate systems.
Yeah.
So, we already have a 1250 and a 350. So we put either a 1250 or a 16.
I'm more worried about the
In it.
rain fields because that's the
Yeah.
part where the rubber gets.
Right, right. And Derek was out there and the soil guy has already been out there and soil tested and stuff. So, and there's lots of, he said, no, you guys, you're solid. They said we could actually even go bigger. So,
If we were gonna proceed, and if we were gonna talk 10 bedrooms and capacity for 25 people, that includes a couple of staffers.
yes.
In the craft side. Right?
And during that, they wouldn't be staying overnight either. So they would just be there for
That's a.
6
day-
hours,
day
10
event
hours. So,
Sort of thing. That'd be another couple of thousand gallons.
So I guess from an enforcement perspective, I would like it if you just set a maximum number. People, that way if we ever had to go out there, we could just count heads.
Mhm.
Instead of trying to determine, are you staying overnight or are you a day visitor or?
Yeah, that would be a total of 45 persons on site at any
Mhm.
given time. And I'm just batting around the numbers. We
Yep.
want to be sure as part of this that the capacities of the pouts are sized to the the flow and rate, load and flow that they will receive. I probably would throw that out too. The total number of people and appropriate sizing of the distance to match the design.
Comments? If not, they may wish to determine what the
Close the
stipulations
public
are gonna
hearing
be.
first.
What?
Probably close the public hearing.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't.
And then,
We didn't have a lot of attendance on it, so we're good. That sound reasonable to you folks, just to see what you think is. Okay, so,
thank you.
I'll make a motion about that we add to our staff recommendations, follow all sign regulations, correct all the violations that you've agreed to do.
Yep.
Follow, but before we get to number 3, we're gonna add in the access to the commercial site from Dock Lake Road using the Dock Lake Road address. That the curfew will be 10 o'clock. And that the pouch capacity is to be appropriate for the 10 bedrooms and the 25 craft plus staff activities, 2 separate pouts. And that the total maximum of persons on site is 45. Anything else we should add?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Conroy, second by Mr. Anderson. Roll call vote. Mr. Schmitzky,
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy,
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. Conditional use permit CUP 2310 has been approved. Thank you very much.
I thank you. Big day, guys.
Next, we'll go to conditional use permit CUP 2311 Vic. Chickens in the commercial district.
Morning. Yep, I'm here to apply for a land use.
Name, please.
My name is Douglas Fick. I'm here to apply for a land use permit. To have chickens. Up to 40, I thought. Of course, if I heard right, then you're going to adopt the prior chicken thing for Burnett County, then that would bring that to 50, no more than 50. I would like to have a couple, 2, 3 roosters if possible. If not, I understand.
Acre parcel.
I think it isn't written in stone that you can't have roosters. It's mainly if you're in a crowded area.
Sure.
But you're 20 acres probably won't bother anybody, and you're right off Highway 35 besides, right?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, there's already quite a bit of road noise.
Road noise and stuff. A couple of roosters crowing ought not to become an issue to anyone in your spot.
Heard all across the street, probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're across from Ken's Auto Sales.
That is correct.
Maybe they would find hearing roosters amusing over there.
Well, you know, it's a good possibility, such as I find their music all night long amusing.
They should balance out things nicely. So no, I mean, the roosters thing can be an issue. I have seriously encountered where a lot of chickens, near a lot of lake cabins did create some issues, but I don't see that here on 20 acres and maybe 35 at all.
Question I have is, are they gonna be in a pen?
That is correct, yes. No free range.
Because I know just up the road from there, there's free range chickens out on the roads.
Was that right?
That's the trouble with free range chickens when you're close to a road is they want to cross it.
Why would that be?
No one knows. So,
Why the chickens on good days?
yeah, I think.
Any questions of the applicant? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any public comments that wish to be made? If not, I'll close the public hearing at this time.
We have no correspondence on this one.
Did you ask to bump it up to 50 or is 40 okay?
40 is fine. That's absolutely fine, yeah.
Only reason being since we just did that for someone else. Checking.
Why not just make it 50 and be done? That's what we do for all the other.
Yeah, if you thought 50 would be an improvement, I don't see any problem with 50, especially since it's a larger property.
And then,
And then do you want to put a cap on the number of roosters? So it isn't 50 roosters or you don't care? I don't really care, but
I don't think you don't want to go out to decide what they are when they hatch. I never did learn how to do that.
well, I don't know how to do that. but
Okay, but just,
learn.
if you really, people generally want eggs and roosters aren't good for that.
And that's the main reason for the chickens is eggs. I would like to do a few meat birds also, but I will be very conscious about which ones because it may be an issue with other folks because when you go to buy your chickens, a lot of times they will sell them as a straight run. And the fact of the matter is, when you buy a straight run of chickens, 6 out of 10 of them every time are going to be roosters. So I understand that it's an issue and it could be for others also.
I think we just amend the recommendation to 50 to be fair and good. Agree.
You're gonna be selling the eggs too, or just for your own?
Well, I would like to entertain that at some point in time, yes. That's not the plan right off the go.
That was Oakland though. Yep. And this is zoned commercial, so you can have a commercial type activity going on there.
If he was A2, we could have a stand out
Yep.
by the road and sell eggs. It'd be perfectly okay. But commercial could be commercial too, you know, if you wanted to, you get a surplus of eggs. Eggs for sale, it's okay.
Did we get any correspondence from the
No.
town?
I think chickens are generally pretty innocuous. You don't get too much issue.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve CUP 23-11, raising the limit to 50.
Second. Chuck, Jim seconded it.
And do you also want to include item 2, the follow all local, county, state and federal
Yes.
requirements?
All right, thank you.
Give me this.
Well, we still should say it to have it on the record. So
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor, Mr. Shemesky,
Yes.
Mr. Blomberg,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. CUP 2311 has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have rezone request map 2305, Gwinnett County, rezone 2 acres from F1 to industrial 1.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. Sheldon Johnson with Northwest Regional Planning Commission. We administer the Recycling Control Commission of Burnett and Washburn counties. Before you today to consider a rezone request of property that was included in your packet. The purpose of the property rezone from forestry to industrial would be for the purposes of locating a residential recycling facility on premise, the 2 acres. Backstory, which I'm sure you're all perhaps familiar with from county board visits of myself. The Republic Services site used to be the location for recycling for many, many years. Republic Services did not receive the contract for the next 5 years of residential recycling. As a result, we're looking for a new home for a recycling facility. In the interim, while we were able to use the Oakland, the OCC recycling garbage facility site in the A&H site, it is some miles for residents of this immediate area to drive to recycle. So we're looking to relocate that facility on the premise that we've identified in your packet. So that is the purpose of the request on the rezone portion.
Any questions or comments?
I just wanted to say that before we get into any discussion or whatever, I serve as the Secretary Treasurer of the Recycling Control Commission. I don't have any financial interest one way or the other, whether this gets approved or denied or whatever. So I think that I can be part of the discussion and vote. But if you have any problems, then I can always leave the room and you can take care of it.
Well, I can see you having no inappropriate interest whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
The thought, open up the public hearing at this time. They wish to make any comments.
Morning, George Costello, Town of Swiss, and I guess the director of the Oakland Collection Center up in Oakland Township. First of the year, we inherited the recycling portion that was down at Midtown Transfer Station. And our facility isn't that big. We've taken on an extra 20% of people coming up recycling only. And it's been a lot of work, and Sheldon's worked with us on that. And I'm 100% behind reopening another facility in Burnett County. The question I have is that if this is approved and we go on to fencing it in, we still have construction work, would the old dog pound site be a possibility? It's already fenced in, it's already gravelled, it's ready to go. This was brought up months ago, and I think it just kind of went through committee. I don't know if it was ever considered, but it would certainly be a lot easier because the county already owns it. And yes, it's on the other side of the highway from Midtown Transfer right now, but it was just a possibility. And I guess that's my thought, but I'm 100% behind getting a new one going and as quick as possible. Again, too, because it's an extra 20% when we're dealing with 11 to 1,400 cars a week up at Oakland Collection Center over 3 days, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's only 18 hours total. So you can see what kind of pressure that's putting on us. I mean, I only have 5 employees up there. So with that said, I think that dog pound site might be a good spot. Thank you.
I can respond to the dog pound site as a potential. I know in the spring of the year, when we started to look at potential facility sites here in the county, particularly in this geographic region, the dog pound site was one of those that was identified. And at the time of that conversation with County Administrator Ahold, it was identified at that time that there was a potential project that would occur there. As a result, we moved away from that site and looked at the site that we currently have submitted in front of you.
Any other comments? Comments? Online, do we?
Oh. Don't think so. No, we don't have anybody signed up.
Nobody.
You do have a letter or email in there from the town of Meanan in your packet saying they approve the request.
Well, where's the public hearing at this time? Any questions or comments from the committee?
This one, again, something I encountered in the past. Sheldon may even remember this. You remember when Washburn County was contemplating moving the highway shop out to the 70 and Route 53 area? And the county rezoned for that. But we put a condition that if it didn't happen or was later discontinued, it would revert back to agriculture. Because it's, governmental use. And the neighbors at that time were concerned about an industrial site happening out there that wasn't the county highway shop, right? And so I would consider, just throwing this out as an idea, that we put that same kind of a reverter clause in this, as if for some reason this doesn't happen, it would revert back to the F1 district. And we never, and it never did, by the way, where the highway shop in Washburn is. It never did get built there, but it moved from north end of Spooner out to between 63 and 53. Where the city annexed that, I believe. Right? But anyway, that's the only concern I have. This is clearly in the public interest to rezone for this, as is the conditional use to approve it. But it wouldn't hurt to recognize that if something doesn't happen, it doesn't become
A whole different site.
a whole different site.
If I can speak to that, I would certainly be in support of that as it relates to it is county owned land, it still will be county owned land. As it relates to just the use of recycling only. We do have a 5-year contract with Waste Management for recycling services. That'll be going out for bid in 2027 or 28. It could be very possible that Republic Services is our next vendor for recycling. And we have the recycling facility potentially being available right there at the Midtown Transfer Station. So That's a good suggestion.
Question I have, what would the hours be, or, days, hours?
Yeah. Undetermined currently, but probably no more than 12 hours in a given week.
I know the Republic one is
It was limited on 2 days a week, and then depending on the time of year, Saturdays, twice a month Saturdays, or once a month Saturdays. We would be significantly less than their current hours, of about 24 to 32 hours a week. Probably looking at that 12 to 16 hours max.
Why would you cut the hours back?
Budget. It's gonna be expensive to have a full-time person sitting there collecting recycling. With George's facility, we've seen that about 70 to 110 cars peak coming to his facility. A&H doesn't measure that. We would anticipate that people would be able to come in that 12 to 16 hour peak time for efficiency purposes and budget constraints.
Some would still go to the others.
We're gonna encourage them not to, for sure. It's hope that this site, the reason why we're opening the site is to try to bring those people back here and to get people who maybe are not recycling anymore to recycle.
From the map, it doesn't look like there's a lot of trees. Would it require a little additional screening, or I can't.
Oh, it's wooded. It's
It's
probably
pretty wooded.
low. It's been cut.
Yep.
So it's probably what, 20-foot tall popples then?
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah.
Right. out
So
there?
do you want me to speak to what we plan to do there? Or you want me to do that under the conditional use?
I guess I'd like to, I don't know if it matters. I'd like to hear what the plan is.
Sure. So in the diagram that we provided to you in your packet, it does include the driveway would be, the actual facility would be set off into the interior of the 2 acre lot. It would be grubbed and site prepared with gravel so that cars, trucks, snowplows can access the property. So it won't be right literally on the road, but it'll be just, I can't remember the map distance, 50 some feet, 60 feet in from the roadway. It'll be gated. The perimeter on the front portion of it will be fenced around the area that the operations will occur. So we'll have large enough area for vehicles to come in, drop off the materials, just do a U and come back out and exit the facility. So it won't be completely level to the ground, the entire 2 acres, just the operational portion in the middle of it. And that's purposely done so that people don't just feel like walking across barren land, scaling a fence or going around the fence, just to drop off stuff that they're not supposed to. The facility would be locked in non-operation. All the containers will be locked in non-operation as well. We'll have a porta potty there for staff that will be using the facility, not for public use, but for the attendant that would be there as well. As we would expect to put in a small little 6x6, 8x8 shed, so they don't have to sit in a car all the time, just to get out of the elements if it rains out or snows.
Would it correspond with the present? Not the recycling, but the garbage disposal?
We would expect that we would be in operational hours when that facility is open as well, so that people can do both events. Yep, for sure. But it won't be every single Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. It could be a mix of those hours, but we'll be trying to gain access for the public during those operational hours. The public is open.
Any other comments?
I think I only had the one follow on the rezone portion. I only had to follow all local, county, state and federal requirements, but then if you wanted to add that it would revert back to F1 if the facility is not used or abandoned or the use changes essentially.
I'll make it as a motion. Just add that, I'll make a motion to approve the petition to rezone from F1 to industrial with the provision that should this activity be discontinued or relocated or abandoned, that the 2 acres would revert back to F1. And zoning
Discussion by Mr. Conrad. Second by Mr. Anderson. And we'll call a vote on the rezone request. Mr. Sheminski. Yes. Mr. Blumberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conrad.
Yes.
Mr. Bicker, yes. Rezone has been approved. We're gonna move into the conditional use permit portion of it.
So the rezone would go on to the county board.
Now, this is rezone will have county board, right? Which will be dated. 24th. Whatever it is.
Thursday after the third Monday.
Sounds great.
Conditional use permit, CUP 2312, Burnett County operating residential recycling drop-off facility. We already explained what it's gonna be. I'll open the public hearing. Is there any public that wishes to make comments? We haven't had any correspondence. No. I will close the public hearing this time.
Can we do today approve this part too, or just the rezone?
Just the rezone, which essentially rubber stamped the conditional use permit.
I just make the same statement I did before, that clearly this is in the public interest.
Yep.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be in accordance with the comp plan or anything because of that. And so.
Yeah.
Can we ask them to maintain current screening? Or, I mean,
Yeah, you could probably say to maintain current vegetation along the road or something like that, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, that is our plan is to not, again, grub the entire trees all the way to the back 2 acres. So we do plan to leave a tree screen in place. Which we're gonna try to follow the map perspective that we have very closely.
like,
So
add that.
we have no problem with that.
And the property is fairly thick with woods.
It's got scrub oaks. I'm not sure what species of trees they are, but they're pretty scrubby. There's a couple taller trees in there that we're gonna try to avoid if we can. But we will definitely put that back and keep vegetation covered.
And if that concern, Shell has already said there's a new sort of facility there for the staffs. Considering approval, two things. One, land use permits be obtained for all items before construction and relocation. Two, follow all local, county, state, and federal rate requirements for this activity. Anyone wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve this, this company.
Motion by Mr. Wade.
With the restrictions that was so stated.
We don't need to add the porta potty in there.
No, that strictly pertains to the zoning change.
I have a motion by Mr. Payton. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Anderson. Roll call vote, Mr. Schimanski. Yes. Mr. Blumberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy.
Yes.
Mr. Bicker, yes. Conditional use permit CUP 2312 has been approved. Thank you, Sheldon.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Next, we have a rezone request, map 2306, Happy Sand and Gravel, rezone from A2 to Industrial 1.
Nick Hughes, Hopkins Sand and Gravel.
Name?
Nick Hughes. Basically, we got a permit 10 years ago from Jim Flanagan to put a sign up. And unbeknownst to us, there was no expiration on the permit. We put a sign up, which now doesn't meet code. So we wanted to rezone so we can keep the sign as we have it. I think we've got to move it back a few feet, but we did go to Siren and get a letter of approval from them from the township.
Any question for that?
So you're just, the sign that's there, you're just gonna move it.
Yeah, I believe we got to move it back like 4 or 5 feet from what the original permit had stated.
The issue I have with this is that do we get something recent? Town of Siren, so input in the packet? Is it separate?
Yeah, they July 19th and I was on vacation, so it wasn't in the packet. But they sent a letter saying they were approved the request.
They've got a small conundrum that I think may be able to be addressed, but haven't been shanghaied into doing the comprehensive plan committee for the last 3 months. The issue we have is that this is not consistent with the town of Siren's plan, which is the county's plan. And the town of Siren may well be okay with it, but the issue is the town of Siren should then amend its map and show that make it consistent with the plan.
Okay.
And I hate to be throwing a monkey wrench into the proceedings, if you know what I mean, but at the same time, we should not really just say it's okay, and the town of Siren says it's okay to do that, unless the town of Siren tells us it's going to amend its map or it goes through the process to amend it to remove that conflict. A2 versus industrial, it becomes a spot zone just for the sign, really, unless it's a meaningful change. I don't disagree that the site where gravel pit was wouldn't be industrial, but it should be consistent with the town's plan too. So can I pick on the town of Siren briefly and ask what you think about that?
I would agree with you. When we look at our comprehensive plan,
Would it be appropriate for us to postpone this, giving the town a chance to investigate amending its map and further responding?
Or would you want to approve it with the condition that the town, then they don't have to come back here, amend their map within so many months?
That would be okay too. I'm just, without doing something,
Yeah,
I am really uncomfortable with saying, well, never mind. The last 3
Never mind
months
the
of
plan.
comprehensive planning, I'm not paying any attention to. It's not, I'm being a little facetious, but not completely. You see.
well, and I don't want to bring up anything else, but I believe there was a project in the town of Siren about a year ago that they referenced their plan on why they wanted to deny that project.
Yes, also true.
So it seems like we're getting a little inconsistent
Yeah,
input.
I think we need to clean that up.
Yeah.
I'm not real fussy how we do it. I'd even point out, we did do one in Webb Lake a while ago. And the pressure wasn't quite on as much about this, and both Brent and I had reservations about that because it wasn't consistent with the plan. Although the plan didn't really make sense for that location. In this case, it wouldn't be a bad idea to rezone this to industrial, but I think the town needs to do more than just say we don't care. I'd rather have the town initiate the action to endorse it rather than just say, well, okay, we didn't mean that one, So,
And with spot rezoning, I mean, basically, once it's zoned industrial, anything industrial can go there. If it's not a gravel pit, it could become anything industrial at any point.
Correct.
also true. That's another reason why it needs to be recognized that we're all fine with the signing, let's say. But we might not be fine with something else, and that's why I'd like the town to make sure it's meaningfully gonna amend its map to provide for this change as being consistent. Okay,
I will make sure it gets on the agenda.
okay. We got that accomplished, and so
When's your town board meeting?
Second Thursday. 13th, I think it is, August 13th.
So we could have reply back from the town before.
Yeah, you could.
Because you can't really prove it, and recommend it to the county. board in this thing.
Yeah,
let's postpone it for 1 month. So the town revisits it in light of the concern we have. And then I don't think we really have a big issue with it. We may contemplate, maybe you guys offer us some conditions that you would limit industrial, or if you sell it, you could change it back to A2 or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no agricultural use with it right now
No.
regardless, so.
Well, and A2 allowed gravel pits and all that. It was never an issue, but in order to to work this out in the most proper way.
Yep.
Good with that too?
Yep.
Okay.
well, here, let me throw another curveball at you then. Why don't you amend the sign ordinance to allow a bigger sign in the A2, and then you wouldn't have to rezone the property, but ordinance amendment takes many, many months.
So my own personal opinion is that the sign ordinance belongs to the highway department, not the land use. But it does, so it
Yeah,
does
well.
everywhere. I'm just kind of kidding.
Yes,
But highway is who really is concerned about signs, DOT and county highway both.
Yeah.
And that land use has to decide where the signs, go. So it's kind of unfair, but.
I'd be happy to give them the sign
A
ordinance.
whole separate, yeah, that, you couldn't run fast enough to get me to take that sign ordinance, but anyway. But let's, if that's consensus of this group and everybody here, that this makes more sense to stick with the rules as we understand them. And I'll move to postpone this for a month to the next meeting to continue pending the town of Siren reevaluating its decision on, if it, or not reevaluating it, but supporting its decision by agreeing to amend its map to this district. And then we would have that as a basis to say, sure. Okay.
And I'd like to second the motion.
Motion and second. That gonna be convenient for our September meeting.
Oh, I don't even know how many things are on our September, yeah, it'll be fine, I mean, there isn't that.
But they're already listed, aren't they?
Yeah, they're already listed, but you know, since you. I mean, right now you're doing the public hearing though, so you technically wouldn't have to have it be a public hearing item next month, you could just have it be an item on the agenda.
Okay.
So I'd say we already did the public hearing today, it'll just be an agenda item for September.
Yeah, my motion should read that pending verification of the town of Siren will amend its map.
Yeah.
Make the decision at the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Second. Oh, no, you seconded.
Second,
Yeah.
Mr. Shaminski. Yes. Mr. Blumberg.
Yes.
Lynn Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson.
Problem with Anderson.
Yeah. Mr. Payton.
Yes.
Mr. Conroy. Mr. Richter, yes. Thank you very much. That means you really won't have to come to the September meeting then either.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. You're done with.
Yeah, because the next one, was rescinded by the applicant, you know.
For withdrawn.
Withdrawn, yeah.
So we'll go on to the review and approval of preliminary plat Shady Earth Phase 2.
You guys have copies of it in your packets.
Yep, they do.
I've got some bigger ones here if you need larger size copies too.
I always like paper.
Nice and clear.
What? Like paper?
Yep. Old fashioned.
Better for sure. This was brought before you a couple of years ago. This one has the areas on it, and has all the lots on it. It's a little more confusing because we preliminary presented this as a larger division, and we've only done the first third of it, basically. This is the second third or phase one of the same project. Got 4 things here, I guess.
No.
Anyway, so we're just looking at doing the middle third. The town road has been built already. The stormwater erosion control plan was all done at the time, and so it is all blacktop except the town road. And so they're looking to do phase 2, which is the middle lots there, which would be lots 12 through 24. This is a darker highlighted area in the middle here.
Let's just to refresh my memory, where did Shady Oak Road will continue around and connect?
It comes out on the highway right by the judicial or the probation office there,
Okay, yeah.
just north of the abstract office, and it comes out on Midtown Road. And it's all built and in place.
It's just- I knew it came out somewhere, but I just couldn't remember.
It's not real obvious. There's not a lot of traffic on it. There's 3 homes on it right now on the existing one, and the other 4 or 5 lots just got sold, and they're being buildings put on a couple of those. And so the owner
decided it's time to go to the next phase because he's got all the other ones sold, so.
There's already 3 homes on this.
There's, on the first phase, there's 3 homes, 6 barracks on it right now. And actually, one of the lots got combined together with the CSM, so one of the previous lots was combined with the one to make a larger lot too, so.
Got the 3 that are circled. That were the 3. 1, 2, and 3 circled.
No, I'm not sure why they were circled for sure. Oh, those are the 3 that got sold, and we need to mark the lines for the new owners when we do the rest of the work.
You gotta give Mark that one back when you're done.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to get this one. Huh?
I don't know. We have lots of paper all the time, so I just have to keep track of it also. And they're large size lots. Are 2.5 acres basically. We had approved all the size dimensions and so forth with Jason when we did the preliminary review before. There were some issues with the time we were dealing with cul-de-sac widths or curves, how much frontage you had to have on a road and so forth. And we met it with the averages, and now that requirements are actually easier to meet now, there wouldn't be any issues now at all with those size requirements. So.
So it's just a part of the process. It's continuing.
And we did have town of meeting approval already too.
Right. Good.
Have it pretty handy for when they want to do recycling. Just down the road. The other side of the highway.
It's across the county clear cut to the dog pound too. So no, I'm just kidding.
Anyone wish to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that. Second by Mr. Sheminski. No, Mr. Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
We're good.
Good.
Get this one back, Mark, just in case.
I do have, this isn't part of your thing with the plat that we had approved last month for Maple Terrace. I do need Jim to sign that at some point in time, so I'll leave that here for your signature. And you approved that at last month's meeting. On the 11th, so. Just might want this pen.
Land Services Department 2024 budget proposal.
All right, so the budget request is in your packet. It doesn't have any salaries or anything in it. That stuff's all filled in by admin when they do their magic down there. Same with so really this is kind of operational items. Pretty much keeping things pretty close to what they already budgeted for in 23. Some minor adjustments here and there for accounts that go a little bit over, a little bit under. We got a couple we got software licenses, we got a couple computers for the front counter.
Pretty much routine, nothing.
Yeah,
extraordinary
no
that we
big,
need to know.
no big purchases of any kind.
Normal cycling out of the old stuff and
Yep.
replacing it with new.
Yep.
Sounds like the good old days when buying a truck was a really big deal.
Well, unless you have any specific questions, I guess it's pretty
Just one.
Yeah.
Revenue lines, are we holding about the same as last year, this year, a little bit down?
a little bit down. But nothing to be concerned about
No.
at this point.
Double popped in 2003 or 4. Or 5, whatever that was. But then you saw like a fall like 50%.
Yeah.
Nothing going on like.
Nothing at that point. I mean, yeah, we're still busy, still got people, doing lots of projects.
Yeah,
So
it
I
seemed
don't,
like material costs spiked and slowed things down a bit, but not even that
No.
much.
No.
From what I was seeing and
I
hearing.
mean, I don't know if a little bit is, I thought interest rates would maybe slow stuff down, but I still hear a lot of people are paying cash for a lot of things that are building, so.
And some of that seems to be that people didn't spend as much in the pandemic, so they had more to, when they finally decided to pull the trigger, they were more prepared to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting to see. And we always hear, no matter what happens, have a more steady pace than other counties that don't.
Yeah, we're not like the urban areas that have the higher peaks and valleys. We're a little bit more in the middle.
It tends to balance.
Yeah.
I don't have any more. Than before the pandemic.
No, but I've seen some people attribute some of that. We were talking about, actually, I read an article not long ago, it had more to do with camping and glamping. But that's glamping is people who want to go camping without the inconveniences of actually being in nature. But, that was a real surge in the pandemic and it's fallen away. Production demand seems to be down.
Any questions for Jason? Comments? If not, does anyone wish to make a motion?
I move we accept his recommendation.
Motion by Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
Second by Ms. Anderson.
Do we accept or do we need to approve?
I have no idea where it's Wanda. What do you
Recommend.
guys recommend approval?
Recommend approval to the admin committee.
Recommend approval.
The minutes already.
Send it on.
Good.
All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Carried.
And I don't have any reports.
We were gone.
Cause I was gone on the end of
Just get
July,
back.
Nobody knows what happened.
Sunday afternoon, so. But yeah, they were still busy when I was gone, I heard, so I don't think anything.
You may not want to ever find out what happened in those 2 weeks. You just
Yes.
skip that altogether.
Yes. So,
Is there any reason Mr. Deal withdrew his?
don't know. He didn't give me any reason, just said he
We
wanted
did
to.
get the letter from Sand Lake, but really wasn't.
Yeah, they just asked to have it rezoned instead of RR1 to RR2 or 3, I think.
When I got your message this morning, I had forgotten to do it, so I was searching through the lists to see what last lake that was, and it wasn't 1 or 2.
Oh, is it 3?
Probably 3, but I had never did find it, so. I was just skimming, and I looked this up, I think iPad dinged, and I saw that message, I'm not, what am I looking for this for anymore? So our discussion about that was, Jason and I, was that, yeah, there's RR1 there from old development, small lots, really small lots on the north side. The south side's all undeveloped, but it probably was never, would have been a class 1 or 2 lake. Anyway. I never did complete that task.
Class 2, a buck,
Okay, that's
Yep.
class 2.
Yep.
That's probably because of the older development, but
probably.
RR2 would have been a reasonable reason to do it, just following it as guidance,
Yep.
Jonathan Lake would have been okay with that. They were more worried about a bunch of secondary subdivisions into a whole bunch of small lots with RR1,
Yep.
which may or may not have happened. But,
Future agenda items.
So you've already seen the public hearing notice. I think there's 5 of them for September. And then we'll have that, 5 of them, then we'll have the Hopkins one back on there.
That won't be a public.
That won't be a public hearing. Yep, that'll just be an agenda item.
Would that be the first agenda item since it would be old business essentially? How does that work?
I would probably put it at the end.
Hmm.
That way all the people that are here for the 5 other public hearings don't have to wait for it.
This is just a continuance.
Yeah,
Continuing.
that's how I would do it, but
And that's when we send it to county board.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it just was necessary to do that because of all of the focus we've had on comp plans and how we can't say it's important if we didn't start ignoring it before we even get it amended. And I'm kidding, I say that, but still not entirely kidding.
The only way to achieve, I mean, it's basically for the sign. But the sign has to be for something that's on site, so that's why the whole lot
Well,
has
I
to
think
be.
that was the argument for why it wasn't on for the sign or not.
Well, no, the reason is the size of the sign they have, you can't have an A2. It's too big.
Okay.
And I told him, I go, well, at the size that you have, you'd have to be zoned industrial. And that's the route they went, then, well. We wanna zone it to industrial so we can have that big of a sign. Cause A2 would make the sign smaller.
See, and that's because like a billboard type of sign, which is what we're considering it, is only allowed in commercial or industrial, right?
Yep.
But they'll have to move it back.
They gotta make some adjustments. They gotta move it back and it can't be a V, so they'll have to make some minor adjustments to it.
You, before Jason and my time as working here, the sign ordinance got thrown out of court. And then they recreated a sign ordinance, you know, that was, I mean, I kind of remember Jim even cringing about it. but
Well,
was not.
it's from St. Croix County, so in essence, mostly what we did when that was approved in '09. I wasn't on zoning back then, that was when Flanagan was, but I think they basically, wherever it said St. Croix, they just replaced it and put Burnett and adopted their sign ordinance. So it is very thorough. There isn't any loopholes in that thing. It was written by people that know what they're doing.
And it is an area that had incredible pressure for signage and
Yeah.
was trying to restrict it. Not that we're advocates of signage, but it's a different place. And here it was, but the original one is actually applying, if I remember correctly, applying zoning to enforce signing in unzoned township.
Oh, okay.
Which didn't, I said, how can you even do that? That should be with highway if it's gonna be done that way.
Mhm.
You know, because they have the police powers to regulate public safety and what's on the road, so like the DOT does. Of course, it wouldn't include town roads then, but you know, it's still, we don't see a lot of signage on town roads anyway.
Not really, no.
But
In the village you do.
Pardon?
In the village you do.
No, yeah, I think you could, but I mean, it isn't the. You've been down 94 or 53, you see. Billboards that are as big as an apartment building, because that's how far off the road they have to be legible, but they're banned and near the highway.
Yep.
But there's always somebody who thinks they desperately need a sign. And they're gonna build it one way or another. I've always questioned. How good is that as advertising when, unless it's plenty of time for the person to make up their mind before after they read the sign? So in other words, a stop and see Spooner right at the entry, the Spooner is not useful. It needs to be in Rice Lake before, you know, before it works, but people don't get that. Anyway.
There's nothing else. Meeting is adjourned.
I do have, I mean, this is just a question that you can probably answer. So short-term rentals are strictly a permit. And so